brother, let me tell you something that's going to flip everything you know about attraction. Women don't get addicted to men who chase them. They get addicted to men who create a specific emotional sequence in their brain. Not the nicest guys. Not the richest guys. Not even the best-looking guys. The guys who trigger a neurological pattern that literally rewires how she thinks about them. Right now, you're probably doing everything the world told you would make her fall for you. Being available, being supportive, being consistent. And she's treating you like a friend, or worse, like an option. Meanwhile, that other guy, the one who seems to put in half the effort, she can't stop thinking about him. But here's what they're not telling you. There are 7 psychological triggers that create genuine female addiction, not manipulation. Actual bonding chemistry. Stay until the end, because point number 7 will expose the one thing that separates men she forgets from men she can't let go of. This is the science nobody wants you to know. The dopamine spike pattern is about creating unpredictable rewards, not hot and cold games, but genuine moments of unexpected intensity followed by calm normalcy. You give her an amazing experience, deep conversation, adventure, emotional connection. Then you go back to your regular life. She got a taste of something extraordinary. Then it disappeared. Not because you're playing games, because you have a life. Picture this. One night, you take her somewhere unexpected. You have an incredible conversation that goes until 3 a.m. She feels more connected to you than she has to anyone in months. Then the next few days, you're busy. Not ignoring her, just occupied with your work, your mission, your world. At first, she thinks it's normal, but soon, she realizes she's waiting for the next spike. Over time, her brain starts craving you like a drug. This is dangerous because it mirrors how addiction forms in the brain. Slot machines don't pay out every time. They pay out randomly. That unpredictability creates the strongest neural pathways. When she can predict your attention, your affection, your availability, there's no dopamine spike, just flatline comfort. Neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky discovered that dopamine isn't released when you get the reward. It's released in anticipation of the reward. When she knows exactly when you'll text, exactly how you'll respond, exactly what you'll do next, there's no anticipation, no dopamine, no addiction. The spike pattern works because her brain starts craving the next unexpected moment of connection. Here's the consequence. She starts thinking about you when she should be thinking about other things. But here's where most men fail. They think this means being inconsistent, being flaky, canceling plans. It doesn't. The dopamine spike pattern requires you to be reliable in character, but unpredictable in timing and intensity. She trusts you, but she can't quite predict you. And that's why the next trigger builds on this foundation. Because unpredictability without emotional depth is just chaos. The vulnerability contrast is when you show her 2 versions of yourself. The strong, capable man who has his life together, and then, in rare moments, the human underneath who's capable of depth and emotion. Not weakness, not neediness. Controlled vulnerability. She sees you handle pressure with ease. Then one night, you share something real, something that costs you to reveal. Imagine this scenario. She's seen you handle difficult situations without flinching. She's seen you be calm when others panic, decisive when others hesitate. Then one evening, you tell her about something that actually matters to you. A loss, a fear, a dream. Not in a seeking sympathy way, in a "this is who I actually am" way. And she realizes she's seeing something nobody else sees. This is dangerous because it creates what psychologists call emotional whiplash in the best way. She thought she had you figured out. Strong, stoic, maybe even distant. Then you let her see a layer nobody else sees. Suddenly, she feels special, chosen, like she has access to something sacred. Carl Jung talked about the persona versus the shadow. Most men show women only their persona, the mask they wear for the world. The vulnerability contrast works because you're selectively revealing your shadow, your deeper self, but only in calculated moments. It creates intimacy that feels earned, not given freely to everyone. The consequence? She starts protecting that access. Protecting you. But here's where most men fail. They overshare, they trauma dump, they use vulnerability as a plea for sympathy. Real vulnerability, contrast, is powerful because it's rare, intentional, and balanced. You're not broken. You're human. You're not weak. You're real. And that leads us to something even more primal, a trigger that taps into her biological wiring. The safety paradox is this: women need to feel safe with you, but also slightly uncertain about keeping you, not unsafe physically or emotionally. That's trauma, not attraction, but uncertain about your commitment level. She knows you're a good man. She knows you're capable of protecting her, providing for her, being there for her, but she's not 100% sure she's locked you down yet. Picture this dynamic. You're walking with her at night, and she instinctively feels safe. Your presence is protective, solid, reliable. But earlier that day, she saw another woman smile at you, and you smiled back. Not flirting, just being friendly. But it reminded her that other women see what she sees. At first, that feels like competition, but soon, it feels like urgency. Over time, it becomes obsession. This is dangerous because it activates her pair bonding instincts on overdrive. Evolutionary psychology shows that women invest more in relationships where they perceive high male value combined with uncertain commitment. When she's certain you're completely devoted while she's still deciding, the power dynamic kills attraction. When she's certain you're high value, but uncertain if you'll stay, she bonds harder. This is pure evolutionary biology. Throughout human history, women who secured high-quality mates passed on more successful genes. The safety paradox triggers her instinct to secure you before another woman does. You're safe. She can trust you. But you're also selective. She has to earn you. That combination is neurologically addictive. But here's where most men fail. They think this means playing hard to get or being emotionally unavailable. Does that sound like safety? No. The safety paradox requires you to be emotionally present and reliable while maintaining standards and a life purpose that doesn't revolve around her. But safety and uncertainty aren't enough if you don't understand this next principle, because emotional triggers without this element fade fast. Before we go deeper, just do one thing for me. Hit the like button. If this is already hitting something real, what's coming next will hit even harder. Subscribe if you're ready to understand the actual science of attraction instead of the fairy tale version. Because what's coming, this is where boys separate from men. Let's keep going. Purpose magnetism is when she sees that you're genuinely driven by something bigger than her. Not your job, not money, not status for its own sake, but a mission, a calling. Something you're building that matters deeply to you. She can feel that your life has direction, momentum, meaning, and she wants to be part of it. Picture this. She asks you what you're doing this weekend. You tell her you're working on your business, or training for something, or building a skill. Not in a bragging way, in a matter-of-fact way. This is what I do. This is who I am. At first, maybe she's a little disappointed you're not immediately available. But soon, she realizes something. You have a plot. You're the main character in your own story. Over time, she starts wondering how she fits into that story. This is dangerous because it makes her see you as the main character in your own story, not a supporting character in hers. Most men position themselves as accessories to a woman's life. What do you want to do? Where do you want to eat? I'm free whenever you are. Purpose. Magnetism flips this. You have a plot. She can join it or not. Psychologist Viktor Frankl wrote that humans are fundamentally driven by the search for meaning. Women are attracted to men who embody meaning because it signals genetic fitness in the deepest way. This man can navigate life, can create value, can build something that survives him. When she sees you pursuing purpose, she experiences what researchers call reflected glory. Being close to you elevates her own sense of meaning. The consequence is profound. She starts supporting your mission because it makes her feel part of something bigger. But here's where most men fail. They fake purpose. They pretend to be busy. They manufacture missions that are really just hobbies or distractions. She can sense the difference between a man grinding towards something real and a man performing productivity for her benefit. Real purpose. Magnetism is effortless because you'd be doing it even if she never existed. And that's why the next trigger is so crucial. Because purpose without this element makes you admirable, but not addictive. The emotional roller coaster isn't about drama or toxicity. It's about emotional range. You make her feel things she doesn't feel with other men. You make her laugh harder. You challenge her thinking in ways that frustrate her, then make her respect you more. You create experiences that are exciting, maybe slightly uncomfortable, then deeply connecting. She goes through more emotional states with you in one evening than she does with other guys in a month. Imagine one night with you. You start with playful teasing that makes her laugh. Then you take her somewhere she's never been. Then you have a conversation that challenges her worldview. Then you create a moment of physical tension. Then you shift to something meaningful. By the end, she's experienced joy, surprise, frustration, attraction, depth, connection, all in a few hours. This is dangerous because it creates what's called emotional arousal transfer. When she experiences intense emotions in your presence, even emotions that aren't directly about attraction, her brain starts associating you with aliveness, with feeling. Most men are emotionally flat, predictable, safe in the boring sense. You become the source of her feeling fully alive. There's a famous psychology study where people crossed a scary suspension bridge. Those who met an attractive person mid-bridge reported more attraction than those who met the same person on solid ground. Why? Because the adrenaline and fear got misattributed to attraction. The emotional roller coaster works the same way. When she feels intense emotions around you, her brain codes you as significant, important, unmissable. The consequence: other men start feeling boring by comparison. But here's where most men fail. They create negative emotions. They pick fights. They create drama. That's not an emotional roller coaster. That's chaos. Real emotional range means taking her from laughter to depth, from playfulness to meaning, from comfort to growth. Positive spectrum, not trauma bonding. But even emotional intensity isn't enough without this next trigger, because feelings without this foundation evaporate. Selective attention is the art of making your attention feel like a prize, not because you're withholding or playing games, but because you genuinely have standards for where your energy goes. When you give her your focus, it's complete. No phone, no distractions, total presence. But you don't give it freely or constantly. She has to be worth it. And when she is, when she earns those moments, they become the highlight of her week. Picture this power dynamic. You're at dinner with her. Your phone buzzes multiple times. You don't even look at it. You're completely present, listening, engaged. She feels like the only person in the world. But the next day, you're focused on your work. She texts you. You respond hours later. Not to be rude. You were genuinely busy. She starts to realize something. Your attention isn't automatic. It's earned. And when she has it, it's everything. This is dangerous because it reverses the typical dynamic. Most men give women unlimited attention hoping to win them over. That attention becomes worthless through abundance. Selective attention makes your focus valuable because it's scarce, earned, and completely present when given. She starts measuring her self-worth by whether she can capture your attention. Behavioral economists call this the scarcity principle applied to emotional resources. When something is rare, humans assign it higher value. When your attention is always available, it has no market value. But when she has to be her best self, be interesting, be engaging to capture your focus, and when she succeeds, she gets the full force of your presence that becomes intoxicating. But here's where most men fail. They confuse selective attention with being cold or distant or playing hard to get. Is that presence or is that absence? Selective attention means when you're with her, you're fully with her. When you're not, you're fully in your own world. No games, no manipulation, just genuine resource allocation. And that brings us to the final trigger. The one I warned you about. The deepest truth about female bonding that exposes everything. Brother, listen carefully. Here's the truth that destroys the entire game. Women don't get addicted to men who need them. They get addicted to men who choose them. And you can't choose her if you need her. That's the trap. That's the fundamental error almost every man makes. The self-sufficiency trap is when you realize that all these triggers, dopamine spikes, vulnerability, safety paradox, purpose, emotional range, selective attention, only work if you're genuinely complete without her. Not pretending to be complete. Not acting self-sufficient while dying for her validation. Actually being a whole human who would thrive with or without her presence. Think about what we've covered. Every single trigger requires you to have something she doesn't control. Your own life for dopamine spikes. Your own depth for vulnerability contrast. Your own value for the safety paradox. Your own mission for purpose magnetism. Your own emotional world for the roller coaster. Your own standards for selective attention. Notice the pattern? Your own. Your own. Your own. This is the most dangerous realization because it exposes the real game. She can't get addicted to you if you're already addicted to her. She can't bond to you if you're desperately bonded to the idea of her bonding to you. Your neediness, your attachment to outcome, your secret hope that these triggers will make her want you. It poisons everything. She can smell it. And it repels her on a biological level. Carl Jung said the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But here's what he didn't say explicitly. You can't have a chemical reaction if one substance is desperately trying to be consumed by the other. Women bond to men who have their own gravity, their own center, their own completeness. Not men trying to fill a void with female validation. Here's where most men fail, and this is the ultimate failure. They learn these triggers. They apply them mechanically. They try to make her get addicted. But addiction isn't manufactured. It's the natural byproduct of her encountering a rare man, a complete man, a man who doesn't need her to feel whole. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. You cannot control whether she bonds to you. You cannot control her brain chemistry, her past, her attachment style, her readiness. The self-sufficiency trap is realizing that trying to control her bonding is the exact thing that prevents it. Here's what most men never understand. These 7 triggers work not because they're manipulation tactics, but because they're the natural behaviors of a self-sufficient man. A man who creates dopamine spikes isn't trying to. He just has a rich life that creates natural highs and lows. A man with vulnerability contrast isn't performing. He's genuinely strong with the security to be real. A man with purpose magnetism isn't faking it. He's actually building something. But here's where most men fail the final test. They get her addicted. She bonds. She's all in. And then he realizes the addiction was mutual. He was just as addicted to getting her addicted. He wasn't a self-sufficient man allowing a woman into his complete life. He was an incomplete man using sophisticated tactics to fill a void. And when that happens, the whole thing collapses because she didn't fall for a real man. She fell for a performance. And performances always end. Listen carefully. This isn't about manipulating women. This isn't about tricks or games or making someone bond to you against their will. This is about understanding a harsh truth. Female bonding is a response to genuine male quality, not a prize you extract through strategy. Here's the beautiful paradox. The moment you stop trying to make her addicted, you become addictive. When you genuinely build a complete life, a life with purpose, emotional depth, selective standards, real self-sufficiency, you naturally exhibit all 7 triggers. Not because you're trying to, because you are that man. So stop asking, how do I make her bond to me? And start asking, how do I become so complete that her bonding is simply her recognizing quality? Build that mission. Develop that emotional range. Cultivate that presence. Master that self-sufficiency. Your purpose. Your depth. Your standards. Not to get her. For you. When you do this, when you truly do this, women don't just bond to you. They encounter something rare, a man who doesn't need them but chooses them. And that choice, that freedom, that completeness, that's what creates obsessive, healthy, deep bonding. Not addiction born from manipulation. Connection born from recognizing someone extraordinary. You become extraordinary by doing the work nobody wants to do. Drop a comment. What's the one area of self-sufficiency you're going to develop this week? Let's build together, brothers.